I gotta get, I'm trying to dig on the plan. Let's see.
I think the only thing that's not in there is, we've got child's presentation, but that's a separate PowerPoint.
Right.
If
If you have it, it'd be great, but I don't know if we have another USB port to control it.
Yeah, I can just take this.
Sure.
out.
Yeah, but one of the. We're just, those are. Yeah.
It is that time.
I do need to start the recording, or
We just.
are you already
There's
doing
gonna be a lot of.
the recording? Has started. The recording has started.
All four goes to one. We'll just move to the next step.
Can you hear me online? Okay. Good morning. It's 10 o'clock. We're going to get the meeting started. If you have not signed off, and I know I'm holding this up and it's also on screen, please scan the QR code. We need to know who's here.
We'll show that again at the end of the meeting.
We will. Let's see if I can get this. So welcome to the Q2. Right?
Mhm.
Yeah, 8 times flying. Q2 COSWA membership meeting of June 12th, 2024. Got a lot to cover today. Do we have any new members here in the room? Anybody who hasn't ever been here before to a meeting? No? Okay. Anybody online?
Online, we have Abigail Wright, Brendan Somerville, Danielle O'Neill, David Russell, LaShawn Smith, Wayne Craney, and Zach Henson.
Welcome. All right, so.
Have everybody in the room.
Sure. Sure. And I'll kick off. Derek Johnson, I'm the Environmental Protection Superintendent for the City of Oklahoma City.
I'm Jordan Peebles, supervisor of Oklahoma City.
Rebecca Dowling, City of Oklahoma City.
Tyler Gallo, City of Edmond. Salt Blackmore, City of Edmond.
Mark Thibodeau, that's for coordinator, EQ.
Miles Smunkle, DEQ.
Thompson, ODOT.
Jason Vogel, OU.
Jerry Gates, City of Long, City of Long. City of Norman. I'm just looking for a new job.
Welcome, Jerry.
Thank you, Derek.
Jeff Schultz.
Trina Butler, City of Moore.
Chris Snyder.
Warren Purcell, City of Moore.
My turn. Michael Glasgow.
Welcome. You know what? I'm afraid to hit that.
Just hit the arrow button.
Yeah.
Just hit the down.
All right, just a little bit about our members and affiliates. Right now, we're still seeing some growth. These are the numbers that were produced in our annual report as of December 31st, 2023. We still see a little growth in our membership. We're seeing certainly some stability in our affiliates. And as you can see, we started our friends in fiscal year 22 to 23. And we're up at 15. We're really encouraging affiliates, if possible, to move, our friends, if possible, to move to that affiliate role. But we've got a few additional here. These are our current membership. We're at 22 right now. This is as of yesterday. And our affiliates are at 14, and those are our affiliates. And then our current friends are at 15. And thank you. Appreciate that. And like I said, we're really trying to get folks to transition from that friend role to an affiliate role. Play with it, Mike. Okay. Rain barrel applications. This is our grant program. If you recall, it is open to all members, affiliates, and to the public. And if you may recall that this is where you submit an application for some event or something you or your community is doing, and they can, if they meet the criteria established for the program, they can get a free rain barrel for their use. We had 9 barrels. We COSWA owed Oklahoma City 2, and we've provided two, one for the Home and Garden Show and one for the Heritage Hill Rain Barrel Grant, which is used. Jordan, you want to tell them a little bit about that?
That was, we had a teacher reach out to us for the upper school. And she also runs their environmental club, so they'll be using that for some of their activities.
So we're still, and we have 3 applications processed to date. Again, we just talked about the Heritage Hills. We also have one we're super excited about, which is the KOSU Public Radio, and they're going to use that for promotional purposes during their campaign to get our campaign drive for membership. And then we have one on the books right now for OFMA, and I believe that's for their conference, correct? Oh, lastly, we have 5 available. It is on a first come, first served basis. So if you have something coming up or you're interested in applying for one, please do. We've had several speakers. We mentioned all these in our last meeting. The 2 new ones who have spoke to the board are Jeff King and Jamie Schussler. Did I say that right? Or is it Schussler? Schussler. Yeah. And just a reminder, if you want to talk to the board, please give us 2 weeks so we can get you into that agenda. We're often developing that agenda early and want to make sure you have a spot. All right, Rebecca Down's going to talk about the bylaws revision.
Okay. Page 1. There it is. Super simple. We added a few words for clarification. Nothing fancy there. Well, I thought it was. Oh, got it. Oh, that's because the flash drive is in here instead of the mouse. Okay. So again, whoa, it just,
We're working on getting that going.
y'all are tricking me.
Sorry.
I'm like, wow, it went crazy. Okay, so for voting, again, just clarification. Nothing changed, we just clarified. And then for dues, because we are considering changing some things, we did add this that we might review and change it. Just kind of allows the board a little bit more flexibility to make those changes in the future per member approval if needed. And then again, just a correction, reinstated instead of restated. Thought that was weird. Another clarification, this exception supersedes instead of the exception superseded. That's it. Any questions about our bylaw review?
As you recall, we have to review the bylaws, and so this was our FY 23-24 reviews.
So is that just the board that does that and then it's voted on by the members?
But members can be involved in any review if desired.
So how would we do that if we wanted
We
to?
can work out process.
Okay. I would like that.
Okay. Can you email us?
Yes.
So we don't forget. All right. So for now, I'd like to make a motion to approve the changes thus far.
I'll second.
Derek seconds. And raise your hand. I can't see online right now because my phone's over there. We do have the majority in this room. Are there any objections or questions online?
Yes. Is there a way for us to review that more, or was it with those changes that you're supposed to be only change?
That's the only change.
Okay.
And the bylaws are available on our website.
Yeah, once they're, now that we have approval, I'll add this modified, updated version on the web page. You guys can.
I'm looking in chat. I don't see anything in chat. So,
And Catherine, we can work out a better process for that membership. I have no problem with that.
But yeah, if you guys look through the bylaws and anytime you have any questions or concerns or would like to propose any changes, just email us anytime and we can incorporate that into the next session.
Yeah, which we'll be looking over for the FY 24-25. I think we're going to be looking at that pretty quickly. So, and we'll want that membership engagement because we're going to, this is based on some of the previous meetings we have. We're going to consider fee increases. So we really want you guys involved in that. All right. So the next scheduled board meetings, there's the dates and the slides are available. By the way, if you've looked in your calendar item, everything should be in there. As far as the membership meeting packet, has everybody had a chance to review that? Again, it's in your calendar item.
It's also emailed separately.
Right. So it includes the membership meeting minutes, the treasurer reports from February, March, and April, and the recent survey results. Everything should be in there. So if everybody's had a chance and you feel comfortable, I'd like to make a motion to approve the membership meeting packet. Get a second. Thank you. That was Michelle Chow. And vote. All right, it's majority. We're good.
It's online. Questions online. Don't see anything in chat.
Okay. Well, did you want to introduce? I can do it. Michelle Chow. Everybody knows her, but this is Michelle Chow's bio. Been around for quite a while, certainly a professional in her field. She's going to be presenting Blue Neighborhoods and LID in the city of Norman.
Bio, I had to.
Michelle Chow is an environmental professional with a passion. I read it last night. It was wonderful.
Thanks, ChatGPT. Okay, so I am going to talk about our Blue Neighborhoods pilot program, which we started last summer and just wrapped up a couple of weeks ago. So I'll give you guys a little bit of background and why we picked the area that we picked, and then I'll talk about the project and some of our other collaborations. So I feel like probably everybody in this room is familiar with the Lake River team deal, right? Has anybody not heard of it? Really, Jason in the back? So we have our TPL, we've been doing monitoring, haven't done a whole lot as far as BMPs go yet. But last spring we got our technical memorandum from Reason Nichols, who's our consultant working on it, and they identified 3 different hotspots for us. So we got Upper Dave Blue, Woodcrest Creek, and Little River Trib. And then the reason why we kind of decided not to go with the other 2, TG1 is our monitoring station for Little River, and you can see this black dotted line is our city limits. So not to call out more, but that is mostly runoff that we're getting from more. So we didn't think that there was a whole lot that we could do in this, like very limited stretch of Little River that we had. And then Upper Dave Blue over here. This is really pretty like low density. You can tell there's not really a lot of housing, not a whole lot going on. We have like some construction going on up here, but this whole area is like pretty undeveloped. So we decided to go with Woodcrest Creek, and our monitoring station is right here. This is that little sub watershed. We've got like this whole block right here, city parks. This is a cemetery, so not a whole lot going on there. According to our city parks, they don't apply fertilizer in any of this area, so we're not thinking that's a significant source. So mostly we're looking at pretty like high medium density residential area. So that's why we selected this one in particular. So we narrowed it down even more. We've got just this 1 square mile. Technically this isn't in the watershed, but there's not a whole lot going on right there. But this is the area that we kind of targeted for this project. There's about 1,400 residential parcels in that area. Each like average size is about 0.28 acres. So like I said, we started last summer. We sent out a survey to all these residents and basically kind of asked them, you know, have you even heard of these practices that we're proposing? How much would you be willing to invest? And basically just to try to get a feel for like how much interest there was in the area. Sent that out last summer, and then we did an actual call for participants in September. We were getting responses back all the way through December. We only actually surprisingly got, I'd say about 80 responses, even though, you know, we sent out, I think, about 1,200 letters. So response rate like wasn't that great. But the people who did respond were like really excited, really interested in it. So that was nice to hear. So December through this past March, we were just doing site visits. So every person that ended up being selected and participated in the program, we went to every single one of their homes. So that was like a pretty time consuming process. We went and we talked to them about all the different practices to kind of see which one they were most interested in, looked around their home to also kind of see like which one might be the best fit for just their home in particular. And then we did our installations in April through May-ish. So the practices that we selected, we call them like blue practices, like our version of green practices. So water conservation, we're all familiar with our rain barrels. We called this improving soil health. Basically, we came and did compost top dressing. And the idea there was one, compost can retain a lot of water. So we're thinking like maybe we're reducing a little bit of runoff from their home. Also, if they participated in this one in particular, they had to refrain from putting down any additional fertilizer in their yard. And then the last one, providing habitat, so they could either do a pollinator garden or they could do a rain garden. And I will say, part of that survey was asking, you know, whether or not they had even heard of any of these practices, like rain barrels. Actually, I think like 60% of people said that they had heard of it. So it sounds like maybe our like annual rain barrel campaign is actually working. Rain gardens, hardly anybody had heard of. The compost top dressing, hardly anybody had heard of, but the pollinator gardens and the rain barrels were like two most well-known practices. Okay, so for water conservation, we gave them two options. They could do the rain barrel or they could do that 275-gallon IBC tote, which nobody was interested in. I don't know why. I feel like that's a good option, but we had 8 residents participate. They all went with the 55-gallon rain barrel. And this is kind of the cost breakdown. So we ordered them through Upcycle, just part of our annual sale. So about $70 for the rain barrel, $35 for the pedestal, and then installation by Mr. Gutter was $225. So the total is $329, and then we had the citizens pay $100, and we paid the remaining. So all of the installations were pretty straightforward in this case, but for like what Mr. Gutter told us was that $225 is sort of like the starting price. So if there were any other homes that we went to that had more complicated installation needs, it would go up from $225, and we were just planning on paying the difference. But fortunately, all the homes that we went to were pretty straightforward. Almost all of them already had kind of like a concrete patio where they wanted the rain barrel to sit. So it was basically just modifying that downspout. So fortunately, like we were able to stay right at $225 for all of them. So overall, for those, 8 folks, we paid about $1,800. The residents paid $800. So total is about $2,600. Sorry, I had planned on going out and taking photos, but just did not have time. So sorry, this is very boring, empty slide. So some final thoughts, like I thought that the price for installation was pretty minimal. So I'm thinking for our next annual rain barrel sale, we might just tie it into people who buy rain barrels and offer like free installation if they're within that area, just as an option for people. And then I had a really hard time. I don't know if anybody's ever tried to find someone like a gutter installer to do a rain barrel for them, but I mean, I had people who just said they didn't do it or wouldn't even call me back. So Mr. Gutter was literally the only person I talked to who was like, yes, we'll do it, and actually came and did it. So that was kind of a struggle. Okay, so for soil health, we did a 1/4-inch top dressing, front or backyards, depending on what they were interested in. And then we also offered to put down wildflower seed in addition if they wanted to try and establish kind of like a wildflower meadow in their yard. Fertile Ground did all the work and they provided all the compost. This was kind of like a little salty about this. So he originally quoted us about 10 cents a square foot, and that was the number that we used in all of our promotional materials. And when we went out to the estimate, it ended up being closer to like 30 cents a square foot. which the city just paid the difference because I had already told people that was how much it was gonna cost. So this one, a lot of people were really interested in this just on the lawn care aspect. So we had 17 participants ranging from 1,000 to 17,000 square feet. We paid 50% of the cost up to $300. So this is just a little example. If your yard was 300 square feet, it would end up costing 300 and we would pay about 50% of that. So the citizens would pay 150. Yeah, so again, it ended up being closer to 30 cents a square foot. And I'd already done those estimates for the citizens and told them, this is kind of the ballpark of what we're thinking. So we just stuck with that for the residents and we paid the difference. So we put out about 67 yards of compost on all these lawns. So this is the spreader that they use, and it is so fast. Like they probably did that in less than 5 minutes. It was awesome. So for this one, we paid about 9,000, residents paid 5,000, total is about 14,000. So this one was kind of cool because 40% of the people that filled out that survey over the summer said that they used fertilizer. And, part of the site visit was me asking them, like, what is your current process for fertilizing? And a lot of them either didn't know or they had, the people who come and spray like 7 times a year, and they're like, we don't know what it is, but they come all the time. So again, we told them very specifically, like, if you're doing the compost, you can still use your pesticides, you can still use your herbicides, but we can't use any additional fertilizer for the summer. So kind of interested to see how that plays out. We did pull soil samples before we put down the compost, and we're going to do it again this fall. If you guys really want to see the numbers, these are the numbers. I was honestly kind of surprised that every single site that we went to was actually deficient for nitrogen and almost all of them for phosphorus. So I've been telling people for a long time that most of our soils are like fine with phosphorus. Like you don't need to put any additional down, but apparently I've been a liar because we are actually deficient in almost every site. So that was interesting. So I'm really curious to see how our results come back this summer. Also found it really interesting that there were a few homes that just had tons of organic matter in their soil. Not really sure why. Like there was this Cheyenne Way, like they have no grass in their front yard. Like they've mulched it and they have like veggies and stuff everywhere. We had a really hard time finding a place to pull a sample. So I'm not surprised by that one, but this is just like a regular turf lawn. Like they all just were regular grass, but for whatever reason, just had a lot of organic matter.
They haven't begged for a long time and just mulch all their grass clippings.
Is that enough to build it up to?
If it's for years and years.
Okay. Cool. It's good to know. Because these are like new construction down here. Tisbury, Mulberry, Montia, like those are all pretty new constructions. Cool. So we had a little bit of reluctance with just like the 10 cents a square foot price. So if we were to come back next spring and ask them to pay, do the 50/50 on 30 cents a square foot, that's probably going to be pretty cost prohibitive for some of the residents that we have, I think. And then if you guys want to do this and you're going to use that wildflower seed, definitely try to do it earlier. So we did it in the spring, so we're probably kind of missed like the best time to seed. You really want to do that at the end of fall or in the winter. We just didn't quite get started last month to get that done last winter. So thank you. Okay, for the habitat, so they can choose either rain garden or pollinator garden, and we had different subsidies for each. And this number, $10 a square foot, $7 a square foot, that's the estimate that our landscaper gave us. And of course, we're trying to promote rain gardens a little bit more, so we offered a little bit higher subsidy on that. But to be honest, like there was only like 1 or 2 people that were really interested in that rain garden. Everybody else just wanted pollinators. They saw pollinators and they're like, that's what we want. Even though it was sort of like similar plant selections, like they just weren't interested in it. And that estimate up there doesn't include plants. So the city purchased those plants separately and provided them separately from that estimate. We had 14 participants and about 1,100 square feet of habitat, put out almost 400 plants. Okay, so here's the price down here for what we paid just for installation. Again, that doesn't include the plants. So we did about $1,700, $1,800, and then the residents did $2,200 and almost $4,000. So just for the plants, we ended up paying about $2,100 for those 400 plants, and that's kind of an average because we ordered way more plants than we originally needed or thought than we ended up needing. So that's just an average of those like 378 plants that we needed. I will say I let the landscaper tell me how many plants he needed for each garden. But after seeing some of them, I probably would put almost double the amount of plants that he put down. I think he was sort of thinking long term, like these native plants get really big, like 3 feet around, right? So he was planning for that type of spread. So when you look at it now that they're new, like there's a lot of empty space. So I would prefer to kind of front load it a little bit, put a few more plants in there and just kind of plan for some of those plants not making it. And then maybe like the homeowner just needs to come back and cut some of them down if there's too many, rather than having like 2 people at front, if that makes sense. I definitely recommend buying those plugs wholesale and then finding a local nursery to take care of them for you. Because that landscaper told us, like, depending on the plant, it could be like $15 to $20 a plant for a 1 gallon container. We bought them for, on average, probably like $1 a plug, and then just had a nursery kind of overwinter them for us. And so we ended up only paying like $5 a plant. So definitely recommend going that route if that's something you guys are looking. Also, definitely be mindful of scheduling issues and delays. So we were trying to do this in the spring. So our nursery, was understandably like super busy at that time and didn't want to do like individual deliveries for each address. So I asked him to just do one big delivery. The landscaper told us that he would have them all done within a week. So I was like, okay, well, we'll hang on to them for a week. You're already smiling, you know what's going to happen. It did not take a week. It took like 3 or 4 weeks. And we were definitely like not prepared to like water those plants every day, right? Like if we had done them all in that same week, like they would have been fine. But some of the plants that we got, like the asters and the goldenrod, had gotten like 2 or 3 feet tall, and they were not happy. So, I mean, they're alive. Like if you cut them down, they're like growing back. But all that nice growth that we had from the nursery like died back because we weren't prepared to be out there watering them every day. So if we were to do that again, I'd probably still do one big shipment from the nursery and just deliver them to the homeowners as we get them and just have them, take care of them and water them until the landscaper can get there to do the installation. Yeah, there were some unhappy people about that. Okay, so overall for all 3 practices, we invested about $14,000, our residents about $8,300, and total $22,000. So we actually had approval to spend up to $50,000 for this project. And I think we could have done it if I had like 2 or 3 other people out there doing site visits and like visiting all these homes. That was probably the most time-consuming part, just trying to meet with all these residents, talk to them, see what they wanted. And again, this was like the first time that we've done any of it. So, when the gutter installer was out there, like I was out there at every home with him. So it's just really time consuming to do it like this first round. Definitely like if we decide to repeat this, I think we'll be able to do much more per year because we won't have to visit every single one again. Okay, so for our follow-up, again, we're going to pull those soil samples again in the fall. Really, really curious to see like how that compost changes the soil. We do have leftover plants. So for the people that got gardens, we are going to have some workshops in the fall so that they can get additional plants just in case any of them didn't make it through the summer. And I'm kind of just considering this right now. For the homes that had the wildflower seed, I might offer them additional that they can put down this fall just to try and help get that established if that's something that they're still interested in. And then other collaborations that we've had in the area. So are you guys familiar with our Artful Inlets project? I think we've probably all heard about it. So we decided to do it in this pilot project area this year. So we picked 3 different parks within that pilot project area. And then we had our theme, like Think Blue, Act Green. So this is my favorite one of that whole project. It's really cool. I like it. These are the 3. So we've got Sequoia Trail Park, Chisholm Cattle Trail Park, and the Vineyards Park, I think. And we have 2 artists in each one of those. So if you guys, are done after this meeting and you want to see something cool, you can check out any one of those parks. We're also looking at trying to do some string bank restoration. So this is Sequoia Trail Park. This is our Chisholm Cattle Trail Park. And we're working potentially with Freeze and Nichols to try and get some ballpark estimates on how much that's going to cost us. Oh, was it? Sweet. Okay. So it's happening. We're also thinking about converting this detention pond. So I don't know the full history of how this happened, but this is a detention pond in one of the neighborhoods. that is owned and maintained by Cleveland County. So literally they just come and like they mow it every summer and that's it. Like, I don't know how that happened, but they have it. So we're in talks with them to try and purchase, or maybe hopefully they'll just give this to us. And again, trying to work with Freeze and Nichols to come up with a plan on how we can convert that and try and get some sort of water quality treatment out of it.
Like stated detention.
Yeah, maybe just trying to convert it to a wetland, or I think they had talked about maybe trying to just put some ways that the water can kind of meander through the pond instead of just going straight out. Yeah, there's actually like a chair in here, I think, that they just like, it was like flowed in there and then they put the grate on top, so it's just like trapped in there forevermore. Okay, that's all I got. Questions, yes.
Did you work with the Conservation Commission or like the yard by yard? Have you looked at that?
We're familiar with it, but we didn't work with them directly on this project.
And some of the things that you did are on their list of like how those people could get certified for their yard.
Yes. So for we weren't necessarily trying to like dissuade people from using like pesticides and herbicides necessarily, which is what Conservation Commission would do. So for the top dressing, we were just focusing on trying to get them to not use any more fertilizer. So yeah.
That's really cool.
Yeah. Jordan?
Question about the partnership you have with the nursery.
Mm-hmm.
Is that like that service of overwintering plants? Is that something that a lot of nurseries offer? Did you reach out to a few to see if,
So I didn't reach out to a lot of commercial ones. I was looking for ones that kind of focused or specialized in native plants, which there are not very many. So we used Sanctuary Gardens. And I honestly was really surprised when he said that he would do it because I wasn't even sure if I'd be able to find someone. So we've been doing gardens for the past 2 years. So we had used him for previous garden projects. I feel like other gardens services might do that, but you know.
was it just just a kind of a courtesy thing, or did they charge you guys? For
Yeah.
overwintering?
Oh yeah. They definitely charge us for it. Yes. So we bought the plugs for like $1, right? And I said the average was about $5. So that extra $4 was the overwintering and putting them into 1-gallon containers, like buying the containers of soil and all that other stuff. So yes.
Any problem with your code enforcement with regard to tall grass?
Not yet in the pilot project area. So I've talked with Kelvin Winters, who's over our code compliance section. And he said that they're fine with it as long as it looks very intentional. So what I told everybody that participated in this was basically like mow the perimeter of your yard, make sure you mow by your driveway and neighboring properties, sidewalks, all that stuff, and that'll be fine.
Any signage associated with the program?
We have signage, but nobody has volunteered for it yet. So if anybody wants it, we do have it. Yeah.
Michelle?
When you talk dress and compost, did you do anything to try to incorporate it or keep it from running off?
No. I mean, all of the homes already had grass, so we didn't want to, try and like till it in or anything like that. And it's pretty fine compost. So really, like once you put it in there, like it kind of disappeared a little bit. You can't really see it too much. Is that what you're?
Well, I think the rain was gonna wash it off everything. So
Yeah.
it hadn't done.
Yeah.
If you have
Do you
a
have a
question
question
online,
online? Let me get the audio to work. All right,
Wayne, go ahead.
Michelle, you gave numbers there, like you sent out 1,400 and you got 57 back. Correct me if I'm wrong, but was that kind of what you expected? That seems kind of low for a place like Norman. Was that what you expected? And if you go into a subsequent project, would you do something different in terms of trying to engage people and get them to participate? I think it's a great project. Kudos to City of Norman for doing that.
First of all, Wayne, I am really disappointed that you didn't preface that by saying it was a question from a fan. So we didn't do any extra outreach on this other than the mailers. We didn't put it on Facebook. We didn't put it on the website. We didn't do workshops or anything like that because I didn't want us to be overwhelmed with people that, wanted to participate. So we strictly just sent those letters. to the homeowners. And that was it. This was just people who checked their mail and sent that letter back to us. It sounds pretty low, but I think if you look at like survey response rates, that's pretty on par. And we got, I think, about 80 out of like the 1,200 letters that we sent. And I mean, I still got the remaining like 40 or 50 people that we didn't get to. So they're still on my list of like probably this fall to see if they still want to participate. So if we do roll it out, like, you know, to that again, and we want it to be a little bit more public, I mean, definitely we would be doing workshops. We would be putting it on Facebook. We'd be doing a lot more outreach. But for this pilot project, like I really just wanted to keep it small and just have like a small group of people to keep it easy to manage.
If you're funded again for the project, are you going to try to stay in that particular neighborhood to see if you can get more participation?
Yeah. We're still focusing on just that one again, because it was sort of our hotspot for nutrients. Let me go back to that map. So Jason could probably comment a little bit more because I'm not super familiar with like reading our monitoring results. Yeah, I definitely want to focus on this again, but this little neighborhood right here was probably under construction the entire time that we were pulling samples. So I wouldn't be surprised if we got a lot of, you know, impact just from Montour Ridge up here. So I am a little bit curious also just to see, like, does it improve on its own now that, you know, there's only one lot left under construction? But I still want to focus on this area and get a little bit more coverage out here and see if it does anything.
Do you feel like those larger lots might be contributing more too because they're so, those people are gonna fertilize in there?
Yes, this was the neighborhood that was like, yes, we sprayed 7 times, but we don't know.
Right.
Where all of our monitoring stations are at this particular neighborhood is much more established than they are kind of on the higher end, large lots. These people spend a lot of money on landscaping.
Yeah.
Yes.
And a lot of the other monitoring stations, like she was saying, they're either far flung or they're in areas that are just now developing, and it's hard to do a pilot program, people improve a neighborhood while they're still building it. So
Do you think if you reach out to the HOAs, Steve, like as an HOA, maybe participate instead of individuals?
We haven't reached out to HOAs yet. That's kind of like our next step, branching out, because I mean, you're familiar with Montour Ridge, like they have bar ditches, which I would love to convert to some sort of bioretention. I mean, that would be perfect. As far as lot size, you know, it's really hard to tell. Like the smaller lots over here, there were a lot of people who were straight up like, we don't want that compost top dressing because we don't spray or do anything with our yard anyways, right? So, I mean, I don't know.
Any last questions for Michelle?
Are you gonna make this available?
The slide, yeah. I mean, it's on your desktop.
Yeah, when, if you guys will check the webpage, try by tomorrow, I'm gonna load up, our presentation and then her presentation as well under all the attachments for today's meeting. The agenda and the packet are already listed there.
Yeah,
I'll be adding these 2 things there.
Michelle,
Well done.
was your funding source from grant funds or
It's all you.
city funds?
Wait,
Hang on. Wait,
Oh,
wait, wait,
no,
wait,
no.
wait,
You
wait.
got a question?
Yes, Wayne, let me switch my audio over.
One more for you.
Okay. Go ahead, Wayne.
Michelle, were your funds from grant funds or from city funds? Are they available on a recurring basis?
They do have a regular stormwater quality budget.
Jordan, she could.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, well, I'm Katrina. I work for the city of Norman, and I am the at-large officer, and I am part of the events committee. So we'll do some updates today. So as a result for the 2024 Home and Garden Show, it took place on January 19th to the 21st at the OKC Fairgrounds. And we gave away a rain barrel from OKC, a rain barrel pedestal for Norman, a $50 Fertile Ground gift card, and 4 Science Museum tickets.
In 2023, the attendees was 29,800. And this year it was 25,500. That's like so many people that's gonna hear about COSWA, guys. Like that's huge. I understand. Like that's a lot. And I'm really like proud to say that we've had 17 volunteers this year. So that's the biggest turnout that we've had volunteers for the Home and Garden Show. So thank you to Choctaw, Del City, Edmond, Midwest City, Norman, OKC, ODOT, Yukon, and DEQ. We really want you guys to get involved. So the more people that can come out and help, it's better. So this is the fun part that if you're part of the events committee, you get to be a part of. So please, like, be a part of our committees. We're going to be doing something new. We're going to be out with the old, in with the new. So this is our old display set. You know, it's kind of heavy. This is a big wall made with wood. And so it's not really inviting. It's not really inviting for people to come in and want to talk. So we're going to try to open up that floor plan, draw those people in, you know. Last year we had Cabela set up right next to us, and that drew a lot of people in because they had like things that they were giving away and like banners everywhere. So yeah, we're going to be putting up new backdrops. We're thinking about a new background and with a stand out front, some feather flags, and also a nice little display for all of our pamphlets and such, and maybe even a little turning wheel. So we really want to draw the people in, really talk to them about what COSWA is, and also try to sell our rain barrels. You know, that's the whole point that we're there. Yes, Michelle. Fish tank. Oh my gosh.
Everybody wants to come and see the fish.
That's a great idea. Okay.
So I'm not babysitting.
It's gonna take care of.
Keep them alive until next year.
Just put them back.
Out of the lake?
That's what they do. They fish
Oh.
them and then they keep them in the tank for the state fair.
It would certainly draw people, and we've done it at some different things with a lot of kids. It draws the kids. I love
like
it.
a spot down near the wastewater discharge for Mormon. So. They do. It's like hundreds of them.
That would bring everybody.
Yeah, no, I'm just.
Okay, I'll put that on Ben's
Miles,
page.
thanks for that.
Yeah, no problem.
See if that works out. But yeah, I'm really excited. Please, like, voice what you guys want, you know. Come to, guess we'll think about a fish tank, guys. I'm not catching these fish, though. Somebody has to go out there and catch them for me. But yeah, we really want something new. We want a bigger, better for COSWA. So. Just a recap on the 2024 annual rain barrel sale. We had 94 rain barrels sold for Edmond, same as Norman, Noble, and Moore. 73 for Mustang and Yukon, 29 for Midwest City, 32 for Stillwater, and 42 for Muskogee. And that was their first year too. So that's really good. So we're really proud of them. And 388 for OKC. In total, we sold 752 rain barrels. Like I know Jordan says, if we don't have a big freeze over the winter, usually we don't have that big of a turnout, but I still think that's a huge turnout from even previous years in like 2020 and before that. So let's keep growing that. Let's keep promoting it, you know, really reach out to your cities and such. So we really need that.
A question.
Yeah.
On rain barrel, do you guys keep track of who bought them?
We do. We have like the whole
List.
list. Yeah.
Do you
With
have any
whoever
kind of
bought.
contact information?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we have their contact information too.
We get that from the vendor.
With that many, 7,600, it would be interesting to see how many of them are actually in use, and you could sort of quantify it in that.
Yeah, Jason, you know that how difficult that would be. It was just, we've thought about this too, and from our standpoint, yeah, we georeference them, but I don't count them as any good after the first year. It's just, people move, they freeze. Difficult.
And verbal judo class. Definitely sign up for this, guys. It is members only. Just remember that first come, first serve. You'll have to get in contact with Rebecca. And she'll also let you know when you guys do purchase it of where the location is. So it is first come, first serve. We're excited to offer it for everybody. Yeah, and it's gonna be $150 per attendee. And you'll pay it to COSWA. COSWA is taking half of that
We're subsidizing
it. Yeah.
for the vote of the people.
And it is on our sign up Genius. I think that's about it for me.
Definitely on the verbal judo, first come, first serve. So those 20 seats, are fill up quick. So if you're
Only 18 left.
18 seats left.
Does everybody know, is everybody familiar with verbal judo? Do you guys know what it is? What's involved? It's a tactical communications course. So it's really focused on kind of more marketed more towards like police, fire, that have interactions with the public that can kind of be contentious. So it's about de-escalation. I took this class really early on in my career. It was offered during an EPA conference. And to this day, it is still probably one of the single most valuable trainings I've ever gone through. So if you haven't been, I give it my highest recommendation. It's really well taught. I forget the name of the instructor.
Michael Friedman.
Yeah, he's been doing this. He was my instructor. And it's just a fantastic class. So if you have any interest, I definitely recommend that you sit in on it.
And it's really geared towards gaining compliance, voluntary compliance, without having to like smack off something.
Yeah, kind of all about having that public face, and tucking your ego way down, where they can't reach it, and just keeping that public face. But it's really good training. I want to touch on our advertising campaign. So what we're doing for the spring and summer is we're focusing on our digital billboards, similar to what we did last year. We have 5 locations, 5 billboards. And at each billboard, we have 4 different ads that are running in our spot. So they're just cycling through. We ended up having the same budget as 23. The vendor that we used, Tyler Media, they honored last year's pricing, which was fantastic. We had budgeted more because they have had price increases, just like we're seeing everywhere. So, but they did honor last year's pricing at $3,500. And these are the topics that, were based on a vote from the membership. These were some of the topics that everybody wanted to focus on. So we had floatables. That was a new one. We, instead of just focusing on just pesticides like we did last year, we expanded it to include, herbicides and fertilizers as well. So just PHFs. Grass clippings was another repeat. That was something everybody wanted us to focus on again. And then pet waste management as well. So this is okay, that's not focusing. So this was the new floatables one, which was actually created by one of our outreach committee members, Kaylin Freether at DEQ. She did that as part of a course she was taking, and we loved it so much, so we use it. So these are the locations of the billboard. So we really tried, this is all based on availability, of course, with Tyler Media. They contract these out. So we're kind of competing against, other clients, but we wanted to see do as much as we could to get that distribution all across the metro. So all of our membership could benefit from this as much as possible. These are the locations down here. So we had one at Northwestern and Northwest 192nd, Classen and Northwest 63rd, South Yukon Parkway and Ranchwood Boulevard, South Sunny Lane Road and Southeast 15th, and then at Robinson and I-35 down here near Norman. So we had the PHFs, floatables, grass clippings, where we were really encouraging people, sweep it back after you've mowed, blow it back into your yard, or you can compost. And then we continued with the Do Good campaign that we were able to get from Dayton, Ohio's Stormwater team. So we know last year we increased our social media presence from just Facebook and, open our YouTube account. Both of those we've seen a lot of growth since we first opened those. So we're up to 116 followers on Facebook, which was an increase by 2 since we met last in March. For YouTube, we've gone up from 4 to 7. Our webpage, we're still static at 13. But these are the QR codes. It'll take you right to the account. So if you're interested and you haven't followed us yet, please do so. And as always, if you have anything about your programs that you want us to advertise, just email the board, email me directly, and I'll get that posted as soon as possible. So for the annual report, it was distributed to membership back in March after our last meeting. So we have a couple of hard copies here if you want to check it out, but it is now also available on the webpage. So on the webpage, it's in like a booklet form. So when you open it, you can see both pages. But if you have any questions, just let us know. But it is available. We also sent out the metric spreadsheet as well, which is what all the great information in here is based off of, just maybe in a more easily digestible format. As we start going on to e-reporting, we may be considering other ways of handing out this information. But for now, we'll offer it in both forms. I'm going to go about a couple public events that we have been attending so far this year. So in January, we had the KOSU radio water reporter, Grayson Wheeler, reach out to us to do an interview about our rain barrel sale. So that was really exciting to have, which is an NPR station, reach out to us on that campaign. And then for the first time, we went to the Capitol for the Water Appreciation Day. So that's right under the rotunda. Different audience than we've had before, hopefully the opportunity to interact with legislators and other agencies. It's really it's a fantastic event. We enjoyed it and anticipate attending in future years as well. We were also asked to attend OKC's industrial workshop as an exhibitor. So we had a booth there, got to kind of talk with industrial permittees about options. We were also asked to present at Oklahoma City's recent audit with DEQ. We were there discussing how we collaborate with not just Oklahoma City, but the rest of our COSWA MS4 members and the services that we provide. And then Rebecca got to go with Atkinson and Stillwater and attended the Lake McMurtry Adventure Camp. So we got to work with some kiddos, do an Enviroscape presentation right there on the lake. Looked like it was a beautiful day. In the future, what we've got coming up, of course, Derek mentioned we had an application for a Rain Barrel grant program from OFMA for their stormwater technical workshop. We usually do a presentation there. I think this year we're just going to end up having a booth. We're still working on the agenda. ODOT C4 conference we've attended in the past. So Catherine, just let us know if you want us back. Okay. And then OCASA's compost conference. We were there last year as well. Okay. Anybody have any questions about any advertising campaigns or the report? Okay.
Right. So I get to talk about the Regulatory and Training Committee, the best committee out there. I mean, I've got the best people. That's for sure. We do meet quarterly. There's these dates. We just met the other day on June 5th. We don't have a spokesperson yet. So I'm hoping to convince somebody into that. Mark doesn't. We'll get it figured out. But and I'm the board liaison. Mark, you're off here because you haven't quite made a decision yet, but I'm still encouraging you to do so. But our primary items, we've been working with NMSA, our National Municipal Stormwater Alliance. We are a member now. But our primary thing is we're waiting on the website to be released so we can figure out exactly what they offer and what training and resources we can get to the membership. So more to come on that. I'll skip to the next or the third one, which is our EnviroCert training. We don't have the nuts and bolts done on that, but we are still planning to offer the full complement, provided that they'll work with us, of EnviroCert certifications. We're going to talk about possibly having some training associated with it, but it's very difficult to do if we're doing CPESC or we're doing CPISM. Which one do you pick? So More to come on that. The other thing is Jason, Dr. Vogel and I are already talking about the OWS training in this spring. The other thing that what came out of the committee is we've asked for, the committee asked for a state update portion to our membership agreement, our membership agenda. This is where the state, i.e. Miles or somebody else, gets to come up and give state perspectives. The last and probably the biggest thing that we have is on the back table. And this will be emailed out in PDF and Word document. Our open letter to the EPA regarding reinitiation of the Region 6 MS4 conference. So we're not pushing you in any direction. You as an MS4 or organization can take it and modify this language. You can use it as is. It will, or you can sign it on the behalf of a member of COSWA. We don't care. We just want to make sure that EPA hears our message that this conference was valued. It's still needed. And we'd like to see it again, at least here in the state of Oklahoma. I know we have the support. Now, we haven't talked to our partners with GCSA yet, but I don't think they would have a problem with that either. But once we get this rolling around and everybody starts consuming this and using it, we hope that you'll talk to other partners that you may know that we don't know, maybe state counterparts, et cetera. So anyway, take a look at that letter. We'll try to do an email here within the next 2 to 3 days with all that information in there. That's it for me. Miles, Mark, state updates.
I'll let Mark kind of take care of that. We'd already discussed it, but the other thing, just kind of more recent news that happened is that we've had a change in our senior leadership, that Scott Thompson has retired and Rob Singletary has taken over with other subsequent changes from that. So I just wanted to kind of pass that along. I don't honestly foresee a lot of changes coming our way regarding that change. They pretty much leave us to manage the programs as best we can. So I don't think from an MS4 perspective, as far as what we're doing at DEQ, that there'll be any change from the leadership change.
And kind of a update on what the MS4 program is up to, where after I write up and sent out the OKC audit, we're restarting the 5-year cycle. So we're going to be going back to the original first bunch of MS4 phase 2 studies. So if you haven't seen this in a while, we're going to come by soon. It's pre the new permit that's coming out. I think we're seeing 26, right? 2025, 26?
2025.
Yeah.
No, 26.
Yeah. So it's trying to get everybody up to the current permit before we go on to the next one. As we've been told that we're getting some higher visibility with EPA here shortly.
Interesting. So the OKR4 is going to be, it's up in 26 or 25?
Yeah, it'll be up for renewal in 26 and we'll start working on it next summer. I don't know, it'll be probably the same folks that we've had on the work group last time. That's something we'll start talking about toward the end of the year.
As far as your audit process goes, are you guys looking at like a full week-long audit even for the phase 2s, or are you looking at it shortened?
Generally speaking, it's a full day.
A full day for phase
2s. Now, some of the bigger ones are multiple days, a lot of them can be bigger, but in general, it's, it's 4 to 6 hours.
And there's going to be a bigger push. Like, I know we had done a lot of those remotely, but we'll be probably transferring those as much as possible to like on-site records review and then the site visits to the various facilities covered by the program.
Will you have the checklists available?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, we've been doing a lot of changes and updating, and so it's been a moving target for a lot of these things, and a lot of it is
getting input from the MS4s when we go out and do these inspections and audits, making sure that we've got something that is workable for both us and the permittee. And so we've been working really hard on that, especially doing the audits, which again, it'll be 5 years before we come back to those, but those are fairly involved. And so we want to definitely continue to make changes on those. Also, what's going to have an impact on some of that is the reporting rule. So for those that are not familiar with that, we will start the reporting rule next. Will be due to start next October. We do have a work group working on the annual reports for all of the programs that are required to be submitted, stormwater being one of those. And we will be providing a form for the MS4s to turn in their annual reports. And again, it'll have to start by October of next year. I'm hoping, like, we've got permit applications that we're going to get through first, but we should be starting on that toward the end of this year. And I think we've got a pretty good idea of what that form is going to look like. So we'll take hopefully we'll have some be able to go out and get some input from the MS4s toward the end of this year. The other thing too I heard is that the Clean Water Needs Survey for the last survey is going to become public here probably by the end of the summer. And I encourage you guys to take a look at that. Oklahoma underreported again grossly on MS4 needs. So it's important that you guys pay attention to that. That survey is done every 4 years. Of course, EPA had a big gap because of COVID for that, but it's the only way to purely document the needs for MS4s and for you guys, both for grant funding for any programs that you have, SRF funding that you guys have. So the EPA and the state in some part uses that needs survey to allocate funds based upon what needs are reported on there. So it's really important that people participate in that survey and make sure that they have data. You can go onto the EPA needs survey site and actually breaks down all the data elements that are required, what types of data elements, what kind of needs that can be reported. Those are all things that are well documented on that webpage. And we don't do anything different than what the EPA tells us to do for that. So it's important now for you guys to go take a look at those, see what needs you have that you can document or start working towards documenting now. And then that way, when the next needs survey comes up, which will be in a couple of years, that there'll be data. Because what they're looking at is the past 4 years of information or data that you've developed based upon your needs for your program. So what you do now is what you're going to be reporting on in a couple of years, and any needs that remain as you work through over the next few years that you need moving forward will be documented in that next need survey. So it's really important that you guys do that. Everybody is using that needs survey now, especially from a stormwater perspective. It is a very highly visible survey when it comes to it, and kind of tired of getting badgered by NIMSA for underreporting. Second time in a row that they called us out for it. So please pay attention to that. We'll be sending out notices about a year in advance before that survey starts to get you guys prepared and teed up for it. And then there'll be last time the Water Resources Board contracted with Freese and Nichols to do the outreach. I suspect that we'll probably have another contractor do it. So just please pay attention. Your email address more than likely will be what will be used for that contact. So just be mindful of that and be on the lookout for that. But we probably will start seeing some information coming your way here in the next year or so.
Not as exciting as talking about money. We also have a change in definition for urbanized and urban areas, which is going to change some of the phase classifications for, well, not phase, but the category classifications for phase 2 cities. And it's going to add, is it 20 more?
Yeah, we know at least 12 to 15 more communities. That's just communities. And as far as like count or non-traditionals, I'm not sure what that looks like, yeah,
So,
we're
some of the smaller places we can bump up a bit.
How do you expect to make those notifications?
When we,
Website?
yeah, when we start the permit renewal process, kind of similar to what we did with the new MS4s, it'll be probably 6 months in advance of the, I think it's 6 months in advance of the permit becoming due. You'll be notified of the need to submit an NOI. Any of the new MS4s will be identified as being a new MS4 and a need to submit an NOI. So that's about a 30% increase in the number of MS4s just on the community side. Non-traditional, I would suspect that we're looking at probably at least three more counties.
Yeah.
At least. And then I don't know what other non-traditionals may be out there that'll get brought into that. So we hope there'll be more staffing that comes with that.
But anyway,
also gives
we
an
can
opportunity
help.
for COSWA.
Yeah.
Do what?
It gives an opportunity for COSWA growth as well. Though,
Sure.
because we try to push people to.
And GCSA. So, no, any way we can help on that and get the word out, you just let us know.
Yeah.
Any word on, the QAPP process that we had?
No, not yet. I haven't, I've been working with Vernon more recently, about trying to get, we've talked about some options, for getting a co-op out to the MS4s for the TMDL sampling plan. But I talked with Vernon about 2 weeks ago about it, and we kind of went through some details. He had submitted his co-op to EPA, that had volunteered to look at it, but I don't know. I think they just do that just because they're interested, but not because they're going to do it. So I don't know, like, if they're going to get feedback from EPA in any kind of timely manner, but we're definitely trying to explore different ways to get a co-op out to the MS4 so that folks have that available to them, and definitely something for them to use. One thing I just thought about that came up, which we just recently, some of our managers and staff went through, was the the water quality standards training. I would highly recommend any of your staff or your stormwater manager try to go through that training, because that in detail explains water quality standards, which is almost entirely what the MS4 program is based upon. And you're looking at something that's not as defined as the point source facilities. And if you don't have a intricate knowledge of the water quality standards, and it's sometimes very difficult for you to determine how to apply your program or how to measure successfulness with your program. So one of the things that we're definitely going to be encouraging MS4s to do, especially managers and program managers, is to look at attending that water quality standards, EPA's standards training. It's extremely good. It's very, very well done. It's something that, has been around for a very long time, and especially with DEQ taking over standards, I think it's even more important that everybody that's involved with the permitting process be knowledgeable of that.
So Miles, just for clarification, that is at a federal level training?
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. That's an EPA
training at this point.
It's EPA sponsored, and I don't know if it's free or not. But
QAPP training is.
Yeah, the co-op training that EPA has is free. And it's also done at your own pace. So again, that's another training that any of you that are doing sampling or having to do sampling, getting going. It's a 3-day course instead of 4, and it's you do it at your own pace. So it's definitely much easier to get that certification and understand the co-op. But which
I have several comments if I can get on, please.
Yeah,
All right, just a second.
Yeah, I don't, I just know that they held an academy last week. And so it's just, but it's all online, so I'm sorry. Those 2 weeks really run together.
Just one sec. Wayne has some comments. All right, go ahead, Wayne.
Thank you. I want to, commend Miles for his tireless devotion to the needs survey. He has, without a great deal of success, he's a tireless campaigner, and I gave him a lot of credit for that. It really is important to get those things in to establish that basis, and the idea is, how can you ask for money if you don't know what you need the money for? And it really is, something that was really useful in the long run. And the other thing is about our management. It was announced yesterday, Robert Singletary, we call him Rob, started out as water quality attorney, and so he's very familiar with us. He's done other things. He's been a general counsel at the Water Resources Board. He's been in private practice, and he's been chief of staff. I give the management a lot of credit for what I hope will be a seamless transition. We've only had 3 directors in the entire time that we've existed as an agency, which is over 30 years now. And we're continuing that. The deputy director is Madison Miller, and Madison has extensive experience, mostly in air quality, but she is I call her the quintessential girl next door. She's just a very good person, very competent. And then our very own Mark Hildebrand will be the chief of staff. So we've got a new director, new deputy director, new chief of staff. Mark started out as an inspector in water quality. He's a really great guy and a really good friend. And so I'm just, thrilled with that management team. This was announced by Rob to the staff on Tuesday, so it will be coming out. But I just think that puts us in a great position to move forward. These are quality folks that are very experienced, and I look forward to working for and with them as we go forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Wayne.
Okay, last call for state updates. This is your time to sit on.
Yeah, I didn't have much of a chance to script this, so I think the other thing to hit on is as we've wrapped up this fiscal year, looking back at our successes, things that we're going to improve on. Obviously, one thing that we continue to struggle with, but we hope to improve coming in this next fiscal year is responsiveness. I know that's something that we've struggled with as DEQ, and I know it's not fair to the communities. You have to wait too long for feedback on our inspections or annual reports, and so hopefully from a technical staff perspective, I will be fully staffed going into the next fiscal year with Mark kind of anchoring the MS4 program. We've got additional, probably we'll bring in our pre-treatment coordinator to help with some of that program implementation, and then also with the standardization of a lot of our written reports and stuff that hopefully they won't have to wait very long on me. So that we're hopeful going in this next fiscal year, we're going to be more responsive. With that, comes with, the requirements, basic permit requirements. We really are going to be pushing for MS4s to verify their compliance with the permit through the annual reports, through inspections. And I don't know if you guys have gone through these or not, but, as part of we do the revisits after the year after evaluations, but we've also added MCM checks. So for that following year, so that at least over a 3-year period, you guys are getting regular inspections from us so that we can offer feedback about permit compliance. And so that's something I'm pretty excited about because it's not a workload increase for my staff. It's just them going out and doing their standard additional inspections, but for us to partially focus on MS4 programs as being in that inspection process. So, but going into next year, hopefully you guys will see a lot more responsiveness from us and a little more direction, and definitely a lot more input on permit compliance moving forward.
Thank you. All right. Our next meeting, and this isn't the final slide, so our next meeting is on September 11th, 2024 at 10 o'clock. We'll be at the Oklahoma City Central Maintenance Facility. Just a reminder, park on the north side, so I don't have to have you come around and pull around. And also, there'll be a field trip associated with this one. So we're going to cut into it a little bit. If you guys are interested in seeing our Oklahoma River maintenance facility, our marine vessels, how we get floatable debris out of the river, this might be right up your alley. So, Rebecca.
Yeah, and to comment on his park on the north side, if you use GPS, it does direct you to the south side. So just be aware that the entrance is actually on the north side on Southwest 15th Street.
You will be arrested if you get, I'm kidding.
Good thing I made it out of there.
Yeah, just seconds. They were right on it. All right, this is our time for open comments. Go ahead.
Well, currently, ISMOD is kind of our stormwater specialist, but that, covering the end, and then I think Harry have worked on the phase 1 permits extensively, and I'm not sure what direction Mike is going to take on who's going to be the lead permit writer for that. I think, pretty sure it'll either be ISMOD or Harrian going into this, but I think probably towards the end of this year, the first of next year, the discussions about how we're going to organize this and implementation of the permit renewal process will probably happen either the first of next year or at least before the end of this coming fiscal year, for sure. Because it takes about a year to write that permit, and depending on what changes need to be made, which I think with the urban area definition change, there may be some substantial changes being made there. So may depend on what EPA, where EPA stands with like PFAS, emerging contaminants, which may end up being some additional which will be actually some additional items in the MS4 permit in the next cycle. And I know the phase 1s, I have seen some of the BMP language for that. And so the phase 2s will probably end up seeing some language in there in their permit.
Thanks.
I knew it.
Well, I've been writing notes because I've been doing a ton.
Dr. Vogel, please.
I'd love to report all the things that we've been doing. One of the things, and it's related to Derek and Rebecca and the city of OKC. If you all may remember, maybe saw at a conference or something a couple years ago, I had a grad student do some modeling to use LID for flood control in addition to water quality improvement, which is an atypical use for LID. She did a really great job on the model. It was actually the grad student of the year in all of the sciences and engineering at OU for the work that she did with that. And that project broke ground last week. Will be going on for more than a year, but I'm hopeful at some point we'll have something out in the field because I'd love to have open holes that we can bring people to and they can see what's under the ground on some of these things. And so hopefully that will happen at some time, but that's really super exciting. And I have some students involved with inspection and just learning along the way. Just FYI for you all, I actually know the guy that's doing the excavating and he's excellent. So he's going to do a really good job. Second thing is Dr. Jamie Schessler and I and other folks from OSU, OU, Pawnee Nation College, Langston University, and Kansas State University this spring submitted a proposal to the EPA Stormwater Center of Excellence RFP that was out there. They actually specifically asked us not to get letters of recommendation, so I didn't bother anybody. It'll be competitive. There's only 3 of them, and I know of at least 10 teams that have put it in. But for our region, I think we're the best. So we'll see. It's very specific, but it's engaged with underserved communities. There's economists on there, smart stormwater, a lot of green stormwater infrastructure, LID. And it's mostly outreach and connecting the community to innovation really is what it's all about. It's not really a research project per se. Some smaller research things that we do in collaboration with stakeholders. But if that gets funded, you all will be hearing a lot about it. It will be really exciting. Our research continues to come along. So we're doing our side-by-side research on compost filter socks and silt fences and triangle silt dikes to kind of compare. That's follow up to our nutrient leaching from compost filter sock stuff that we did in the past. And thanks to ODOT for continuing to support us on that. At the conference in July, the Stormwater Workshop, you all will hear from Seth Brown about the STEP program, which I'm blanking on what STEP stands for, but it's basically a certification program for stormwater controls. And I actually was just invited and accepted a position to be on the review committee for these products. Sounds like they're going to start on trash removal products. And some of these things, I'm going to reach out to you all because you're using them for similar products and I'm going to want input. So hopefully y'all will hear more about that. And then finally, the next LID conference is started to get planned today, this afternoon, and I'm on that committee as well. It looks like it's going to be in either Orlando or say Tampa area. So in a couple of years, y'all can start saving up for that and get down to the same beach. That's my vote anyway. So yeah, just and we also had a new iteration of my LID class this spring that we taught jointly with landscape architecture and environmental design. And it was challenging, but it was really fulfilling. We actually had 28 students in that class, which is by far the most I've ever had in an LID class. 3/4 of them were actually in landscape architecture. But I taught them how to do curve number. And so they're going to be able to talk to the engineers.
Jason, was that the class that I got to listen in on their final, capstones? That was a lot of fun.
Yeah. So it was a learning experience for me, definitely. But I'm 95% sure we're going to do it again next year in the same way. And I actually hired a couple of environmental design students to work for me because so anyway, lots of stormwater related stuff going on. And if y'all have interest in any of those things or questions or whatever, grab me.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jason.
Anybody else? Okay. Well, that is not my last slide because the last slide is the QR code again to make sure that everybody signs in. But I appreciate everybody. I know everybody's been busy. It's been a busy year so far. So we have our next meeting in September. If you guys have something you want to talk about, we're already talking on the training and education committee on who's going to be speaking at both the September meeting and at the December meeting. We're hoping we have some really nice things for the December meeting, which is also our party and other things. So we're really trying to get that out there for you. If you did not sign in, please scan QR code. It's an Apple Wedding or whatever it is. Please sign in. Thank you guys. Appreciate it. If anybody needs an annual report, and remember the letter is on the back table too. So. Yeah.
For our online audience, just an FYI that the letter was attached to the calendar item, the letter to the EPA. So
you don't.
Those are my favorites.
Every time I walk over to that side of the room, I let it grab it.
It's lunchtime.
I'll say 5.
Thank you.
Thanks, Lane.
Everybody howdy for me.
Is there any mic over there? Am I too late?
To do that on Mission Street.
I know you're good.
I know he's going to do it because